Welcome to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. My name is Rob Murgatroyd, and I'm a former doctor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. Each week, I interview some of the best minds on the planet on the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. Come take this journey with me. Excuses are over. It's time to live.
Sometimes your pain can be your best driver. And so I'm always just making it push me harder, and instead of letting it, bury me. I think I got to this point in my life where it was okay, you can continue to keep the walls up and act like Superwoman, and you're going to stay right where you are. You're never going to be able to have as big of an impact as you were created to have. If you want to have that big impact, you're going to have to open up and let people know the real story. A lot of us, when we become moms, we think that our life has to be completely revolved around our kids because that's the story that society tells us. But maybe that's not what you want.
What's up, everybody? This is Rob Murgatroyd, and welcome to another episode of the Work Hard, Play Hard show. This episode features Cayla Craft. You can find her on Instagram and elsewhere at Cayla.craft. I want to have Cayla on the show because she has figured out how to help mommies become millionaires. We go deep into entrepreneurship in this episode, and we talk about the struggles that mommies have and ways that they can overcome it to explode their business and personal life. Speaking of exploding your business and personal life, I want to remind you that my 2019 Mastermind is filling up quickly in terms of the applications rolling in. Remember, this is on a first come, first served basis for getting your application in line. I look at them all, I look for the best fit, and then I set up a phone call to see if you're a great fit between you, me, and our existing group. So if you are at all interested, go to workhardplayhardpodcast.com/mastermind. Who's the mastermind for? The mastermind is for 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs who want to 10x their lives through play, tribe, and amazing experiences around the world. So speaking of experiences and amazing places, we'll be doing 1 domestic and 2 international locations in 2019. The domestic trip will be in Boston, the 2 international locations. The first one will be in St. Petersburg, Russia during White Nights. And the last one will be in Florence, Italy. So many surprises. I just can't tell you now because I'd be giving away the surprise. But I promise they'll be mind-blowing. The Mastermind is the fastest way I know of to 10x your business, up-level your tribe, and get a clear path to grow your business and your relationship to the next level. So go to workhardplayhardpodcast.com/mastermind, fill out the application. So outside of those experiences, we're also going to be doing some masterminding. So inside of the Mastermind, I'll put you into a group of high-level achievers where everybody is at your level or higher, and we'll take turns helping each other grow our businesses to the next level. There'll be a ton of exercises around that. But at the core of the Mastermind is the experiences, because I learn best by doing cool things with cool people in cool locations and not in the back of a Holiday Inn conference room. And I think you're probably the same way. So I redesigned the entire Mastermind concept and made it a fully immersive experience. I made the long conference room tables with the mints and the water disappear. They're gone. So go to workhardplayhardpodcast.com/mastermind and click apply. Okay. I love this episode with Cayla for so many reasons. In this conversation, we talk about everything from what it was like for her growing up with her dad in and out of prison, how she shifted her focus to leverage the power of energy at this point in her life, and some very specific things that you can do right now to change your money mindset. So you can find her on the socials at Cayla.craft. So be sure to take a screenshot of this episode, share it on the socials, and remember to tag me and at Cayla.craft. Let us know what you thought. If this is your first time here and you have not subscribed, just say, "Hey Siri, subscribe to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast." So without further ado, please enjoy this conversation I had with Cayla Craft. Cayla, welcome to the show.
Yay, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here too. You know, I have been watching your success from a distance, and I've been so inspired by your ability to inspire women to become millionaires. It's like you've got this gift. I don't know how you do this, but I want to get into that today. And so first of all, thank you for making the time.
Yeah, of course.
So, what I'd like to cover today is I'd like to start off with a little bit of your background because I really think that informs who we are. And then I want to jump into some of the projects that you are up to now. And then I want to move to the play hard part of the show where we're going to talk about kind of the things that you do to play with your husband and your kids, because there's a lot of people listening that have that situation going on in their life and they struggle with it. And then we'll wrap up with some rapid fire questions. Cool?
Yep.
All right. So I think a good jumping off point would be to talk about what it was like for you growing up in Bakersfield, California. So I know that, you've shared that it's kind of like an agricultural / oil situation. What's it like there?
I mean, it's a great place to raise a family because there's just not a lot going on. It's just like, there's just people, there's a lot of just farming and oil, and it's just kind of like the simple life, But I grew up in a kind of like the poorer part of town, you could say. So I grew up, I was probably, in a gang infested high school where, it was crazy every single day, but it was kind of like the norm to just be in a like scary, hostile situations all the time. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like grew up really knowing I wanted to leave Bakersfield because I just didn't want, I wanted my kids and I wanted to know and confirm the fact that there was more to life than just this simple plain living. I don't know how to explain it. So anyway, that's how it was growing up in Bakersfield. It's a great place, but I just didn't want to stay there.
Well, now you're in gang-infested Newport Beach, Corona Del Mar area, huh?
It's so beautiful.
Things have changed quite a bit in your life. But let's kind of go back a little bit. You've shared in the past in various different places that your parents were split. Your dad wasn't entirely in the picture. Can you sort of give me some color on that and maybe talk about some of the ways that impacted you to who you are today?
Mm-hmm. I love talking about this because I think a lot of people just see me from the outside and they think, oh my gosh, she's perfect. She's had a perfect life. It must have been easy for her. And it was kind of quite the opposite. My parents were divorced when I was 5 or 6, and my dad was a drug addict. And so he was in and out of jail. He's still on that roller coaster today. And it was hard because I grew up with so much shame, around the fact that my dad was in jail. And I didn't want people to know that he was like this. I just thought in my head he was a loser, and I was just really wanting to prove myself constantly that I wasn't like him. And so I was an overachiever, perfectionist, and very just focused on becoming better. And so it made me a very driven human being. My brother had the exact opposite happen to him. So I feel like I was kind of saved by the grace of God. I was chosen to be driven. And that's how it was. That's why I don't stop and why I don't have any excuses in my life is because I just still to this day, I don't want to be like him. And, sometimes your pain can be your best driver. And so I'm always just making it push me harder and instead of letting it, bury me.
How do you, I'm guessing back at that time you were, you mentioned the word shame, and I guess that you were probably trying to hide some of your dad's behavior, et cetera. How do you do that? As a kid, when you've got, friends that want to come over in sports, games and things like that, but you got a dad that, maybe in jail, maybe out of jail. How do you hide that fact, or how do you deal with it?
Yeah, it's weird because I don't remember what I used to say. I'm sure I used to lie about where he was, but my mom was such a good mom. And so we always had people over at our house, and she always wanted to control the situation. So I think she helped a lot with that. People wouldn't ask weird questions because it just if you came to my house, you wouldn't think that anything was missing because my mom was so awesome. Even though we didn't have much, there was just a lot of love in our house. And I hid it, I think, by always keeping a wall up, and so I never let people get too close to me. Even, since a very young age where I was just they can know a little bit about me, but you can't really understand who I am. And I only let them see the pretty parts. And I always was happy. And you would never see a sad little girl, even though I might cry myself to sleep every night. but I would never show that to my best of friends, even, when I was in high school. Nobody knew that about me.
How did you get to the place that you are now where you're able to freely talk about it?
I think I got to this point in my life where it was like, okay, like you can continue to keep the walls up and act like Superwoman, and you're going to stay right where you are. Like you're never going to be able to have as big of an impact as you were created to have. If you want to have that big impact, you're going to have to open up and let people know the real story. And so it was kind of just like a choice I made one day to just start sharing it with people. And the more I started to share my story, the easier it got. When I first started sharing it, I would just break down in tears, like bawling. I'm like, oh my gosh, these people are going to judge me. They're going to hate me. They're going to think that like they can't trust me because I have a dad that's like this. And I had all these stories that I made up. And then I realized, oh my gosh, people actually trust you more. And they want to be a part of your tribe even more because they like understand that like you aren't Superwoman and that you have struggles on the daily, but you're pushing through. So it was just a choice I made one day because I just felt like I saw all these other people skyrocketing and I'm like, what is wrong with me? And what was wrong with me was that I was the ice queen,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're so right. I mean, the more I hear this, the more I realize that it's in the authenticity and the vulnerability that allows people to be closer to us. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, and not so easy. I mean, easier said than done for sure. But okay, so let's fast forward a little bit and let's move on to 2002 to 2005. Maybe you could sort of tell us what you wanted to be when you were attending Bakersfield High School in Bakersfield, California.
What did I want to be? I wanted to be a nurse because I wanted a stable job. And back then there was a nursing shortage, which I don't know if there still is, but there was back then. And they were going to pay for all of my schooling if I went through this certain academy. And so I was like in for it. I was like, heck yes. Like I'm not going to be able to afford to go to college. So this is my way out. And so I was in like this thing called Health Career Academy the whole entire time through high school and was very focused. I mean, I was like ready to go to become a nurse because I was like, I'm going to do the thing where I'm never going to have to worry about money because I saw my mom struggle, go through bankruptcy, lose a home, never had money to do any of the extracurriculars that I wanted to do, like sports and stuff like that. And so that was like, okay, I want money. And that's what I chose. I hate, like, I used to like not want to share with people the truth about why I chose nursing. I'd be like, oh, I wanted to help people, which I do love helping people. But that was really the driving force behind that was I wanted to have a stable job.
I'm so glad you said that because actually, as you were saying that, I was like, that's why I became a chiropractor. You know what I mean? I wish I had this altruistic, I wanted to be, the male version of Florence Nightingale and just, heal the world. But in the end, I just looked at it quite logically, which is probably why both you and I are no longer in that profession. But all right. So around 2011, you're pregnant with your second kid. You're eating some food at the nurse's station and you get written up. Can you kind of place us on that day and explain how that may have been one of the straws that broke the camel's back to get you out of that profession?
Yeah, it was another day where I was charge nurse taking a patient that was a critical ICU patient, like on a ventilator. And I was pregnant and I hadn't eaten all day. And this was like 4 p.m., and I had been there since 6 a.m. I'm like, I have to eat something because I'm going to pass out. Anyway, so I was eating a burrito and at the nurse's station, like hiding, just taking a really quick bite. And I got written up. And I'm the type of person where like, I like to do what is right. And if something is done wrong against me, like I'm going to fight, Mm-hmm. I'm going to fight for like, I was so mad. And so like, I took it all the way up to the higher beings and was like, this isn't right. Like, I don't want this on my record. And they were just kind of like, well, it's cut and dry. And the day before I had just worked 18 hours, which is, and I'm pregnant at the same time. Like, and I had stayed over because I wanted to help them because they were so short. And I was like, you know what? I'm just so unappreciated and I'm over this. Like, I deserve better. I'm a hard worker and I need to just work for myself. And at that time, network marketing had just came into my life. And so I knew that there was something else. And I just was like, I'm going to like, just go for it.
All right. So that's where Danielle entered your life. Danielle introduces you to network marketing and you wound up exploding in that environment. So full disclosure, you and I are both on the same network marketing team, which is how we initially met each other. Can you sort of describe what the contrast felt like for you between your days nursing and the entrepreneurship of this new business that you were starting with network marketing back at that time?
Oh my gosh, it's like night and day. I think I was so used to being an employee and showing up for other people that I had to completely shift my mindset into being an entrepreneur, where you have to be self-disciplined and you have to show up for yourself every single day. And that was a huge thing because, we are trained from a very early age to, work for other people and to show up for other people and be on time and all of that, all of those things. And so it was different, like knowing, oh my gosh, nobody's going to know that I didn't do this today. And so it was like I was having to show up for myself every single moment of every single day. And it was amazing because I grew so much from that. And that's why I'll never go back to, being an employee, because I know I'm capable of so much more.
Well, you hit a point where I'm sure you just become unemployable.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I would get fired now. I really think back then I was unemployable anyway. I was always late. It was a situation.
You just happen to have a job.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that really sparked a passion for you to help women, because once you do it yourself, you want to share this and you want to have people participate in the fulfillment that you are experiencing. So it seems like you wanted to fill a void or maybe a lack of community for women, which is, I'm assuming, how the Mommy Millionaire podcast and soon to be event started. So what do you think that the key ingredients are for a mommy to step into her power and become a mommy millionaire?
Okay. Well, first thing is I think getting clear on what it is that you want your life to look like. And a lot of us, like when we become moms, we think that our life has to be completely revolved around our kids because that's the story that society tells us. But maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you want to be around your kids, 50% of the time and then build a business 50% of the time. And that sounds really like cut and dry. But like most moms I know don't want to be at home with their kids 24/7. They like using their critical thinking skills and they like using the rest of their talents and gifts to do something else, maybe build a business. But they're like too scared to step into that because of fear of judgment from other moms out there. And so I would say get clear on what it is that you really want your family life to look like. And then, build a life around that. Like just decide what kind of business do I need to get into so I could have a life that is like that. Then secondly, like just kind of, I like to do like day blocks to where like, okay, this is my day that I do sales calls. And this is my day that I'm really focused on content creating. And that's how I work best. So that way I can be focused on the kids every single day, but then like also using my critical thinking on different days too. So, and changing it up.
So when you're in that sort of zone where you're just day blocking, I really like that because what it does is it creates, there's an energy associated with whatever it is that you're doing. So if you're focusing on content creation, then you can stay in that energetic flow throughout the day and not have it interrupted to, maybe a returning email type flow. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm obsessed with it.
So what do you think budding mommy millionaires pay too little attention to? And what do you think they pay too much attention to?
Well, I can tell you what, they pay too much attention to what other people think. Mm-hmm. That's the number one reason that people quit on themselves is because, that's why I wanted to quit on myself all the time when I first started, was because I was getting unfriended by friends in real life, uninvited from play dates because I was starting to change and become a different person, like more goal-oriented and not gossipy. And so I literally stopped like getting invited to things. And so I thought, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. Maybe I shouldn't go down this route. I don't want to lose these friends. Like these are my only mommy friends that I have. There's all these things and stories that we have in our mind. And at the end of the day, you really have to just ask yourself, would I want to trade places with that person that is, putting judgment on you? And most of the time the answer is no. Because people that judge are generally people that aren't freaking happy. And, and they don't usually have a life that I would want. And so that's one question I always ask myself whenever I'm thinking about taking on somebody's opinion about me. And it's pretty easy because then it's like moving on. I'm not going to even let that enter my mind. And I think they pay too little of attention to their future, and like, I think a lot of people, they focus on the short-term gain. So what can I do right now to make $500 in the next week? And I'm going to make all my decisions around that. And for me, you need to focus on the long term. Like, what are the best decisions that you can make right now that are going to affect your life 5 and 10 years from now? And those are the choices that I'm making on the daily is thinking about that life. And so trying to not mess up relationships with people and trying to always do the right thing no matter what, even if it's hard,
I do. So similar question, but with a slight different nuance. We talk a lot about what women should do to grow their business, but what do you think they should stop doing altogether?
I would say just stop gossiping. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Poison. And it just spreads. It's like just negative energy. And it's just like the law of attraction at play. Like if you put negative energy out there, it's just going to come back to you. And it's so easy. I mean, you could be in a room full of amazing people that are all super successful and somebody could start it and then it spreads like freaking wildfire in the group. Everybody's talking, and saying harmful things. And so that's one thing that like, it just can destroy your energy, like, and seriously take it away because I mean, if you can easily gossip about your best friend, then you're going to easily be talking bad about yourself. And that's a whole freaking rabbit hole we can go down too. If you're talking bad about other people, you're talking bad about yourself, which means you don't love yourself, which means how are you going to have good things in your life?
Yeah, it's so easy to gossip too, because really what the gossiping, and guys have their own version of this, but really what the gossip is if I knock you down, it makes me feel bigger. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right?
100%.
People would look, we talked about this at the opening, but people would look at you and all of your successes and assume that you have everything all figured out. Are there any particular examples that you can think of, or maybe just approaches that you remember that helped coach you through some difficult times or difficult experiences when you were perhaps not at the peak of confidence or when you were suffering hardships?
Yes. So for me, I always used to hold on to things that people did wrong to me. So it was like always keeping a scoreboard against people. And that really held me back energetically. When you're holding on to so much junk about other people, how are you going to make space for good things to come into your life? I'm all about energy right now. So one thing that I did to really move on and gain more clarity and gain more confidence in my life was to forgive people and also to ask forgiveness from other people for holding a grudge for them against them for so long. And I share about this even on like one of the first episodes on my podcast. And I had like this issue with my stepdad, and he left my mom like several years ago. And I was so angry at him. And I was like, I just thought I was like on this righteous pedestal because he, left in this way that I thought wasn't right. And I called him up about 3 years ago and asked him to forgive me for holding a grudge against him. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done because I was like, oh my gosh, I really shouldn't be asking for forgiveness, but I did it anyway. And it was like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders and like more goodness came into my life after that. And I felt better about myself because I was like living in integrity and I wasn't being a hypocrite because nobody is perfect. And so when you treat people like they should be perfect, you're always going to be disappointed. And so it really helped clear up a lot of things for me in my life because I realized like, hey, when you can go out in your life and build a business knowing that every person is on their own journey and if you ever have an issue, it's always you, it's never them. And so that's one of my mottos. I even have it in my phone. It's always you, it's never them. If you have an issue, you got to look in the mirror. And so,
God, that's so good.
That's a tool I would tell people is just like always look in the mirror. When you're mad, when you get your feelings hurt, look in the mirror.
I love that because, once you had that phone call with him, then it was no longer some energy that you had in your body that you needed to hold on to. Now it was just for him. I mean, whether or not he wanted to hold a grudge or, continue being angry or whatever, you cleaned up your side of the street.
Yeah. 100%.
I love that. That is so good. You mentioned energy. In what ways are you using energy at this point in your life? In other words, how is it different for you?
I mean, energy is everything to me. So I am so focused on having good energy and attracting people with good energy into my life. And I know I can only do that if I don't have bad juju. You know what I mean? And so I'm always like looking in the mirror every day. I start off my day like that, looking in the mirror saying, Cayla, I love you. And who do you want to serve today? And that helps me get into a good energy state too, because I'm just like, it's not about me. It's about the impact I'm here to make today. And so it puts my head in the right spot. And it also makes space for people to come into my life. And so many people, like I just, I talked about this with somebody yesterday, talking about being in a funk. And we can stay in that funk and let this negative stuff of life happen because, I mean, Rob, you're friends with us, crap happens in our life. Yeah. And we can either like let that define us and ruin our days, or you can look at it and let it roll off your shoulders and just let it go and ride the waves of your life. And it's really just a choice that you can make because life is never going to stop happening to you. There's always going to be situations happening, but you look at them as like, okay, it's going to be happening either for me or it's going to bury me. That's always a word I use, bury, because I never want to feel like that. It's a good visual. And I always want life to happen for me. And like, what can I learn from this situation? So if I'm in a funk, what do I need to learn here? Because I don't want to feel like this. And I choose, okay, I want to feel happy. I want to feel high energy. So what do I need to do that? Like I get grateful. I say what I'm grateful for. I do like 10 jumping jacks and like change my state.
I love bury because it gives you such a visual of not wanting to be buried. So I love that. You talk a lot about being shameless about your ambitions and to audaciously pursue a life by design. Why do you think that's so difficult for women?
It all comes back to caring about what people think. I mean, It is so paralyzing for people. I brought people into our network marketing team just a couple days ago, and they're like, oh my gosh, well, people are already like making comments about like me being a part of network marketing. And I'm like, okay, do they pay your bills? And right. I mean, it's always the same thing. So that's why it's like now I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the same story, like same thing. We just get so caught up in that. I mean, that's why I think the number one fear of people isn't death, it's public speaking, because you're scared to get up there and care like about what people think, about what you have to say.
Got it. That's true. I never realized that. I always knew that people fear public speaking more than death, which is always interesting to me. But more than that, I never really took it a step further to think about why they care about public speaking. And it's because they care about what people think. I love that. So let's talk about ways that we can help women who are, maybe challenged by a lot of these problems. And for women listening, listen, these are normal issues that you just have to do work to overcome, which is, I'm assuming, why you're creating this event. Can you talk a little bit about your upcoming event before we move into the Play Hard section of the show? Who's it for? And even who's it not for?
Okay. I'm so excited about this event. It's 2 weeks away and I'm just like so ready. So it's really for the person that's ready to go to the next level, that isn't scared of, they may be scared of change, but they're willing to go through it. So if you're not willing to do the work, then you don't want to be at this event because you're going to go out of your comfort zone. And I really wanted to create an event where you go and you are working and being inspired at the same time. And me and you, we go to a lot of the same events, Rob, and it's a lot of sitting there and taking in information. And I would go to these things, leave my kids, and I just feel so overwhelmed because I'm like, I want to get to work. And so I would feel anxiety the whole entire time because I'm like, I need to be working. I'm away from my kids. When I get home, I want it to be about them. And so I'm like, I want an event where you can come and get information, but work at the same time. And so every single speaker that's coming is, giving you a call to action. So like our mutual friend, Sarah Pendrick, she's coming to talk about communication, and then she's going to give a challenge at the end and walk around and help people with the challenge. Okay. So every speaker's getting off stage and helping you acquire the skills that you need to be successful and go to the next level in your life. Now, and then we're talking about email marketing, blogging. Susan Sly is coming and talking about organizing your life and business. and pitching yourself. I mean, there's so many things that like we're doing. You can see I'm like an energetic shift. I'm like so freaking excited about it. So yeah, I wanted just to create that where it's like you can come and know that you got stuff done. And so you're not going home feeling like, oh my gosh, I have 10 million things to do. Everything's already in motion when you get home. When your plane lands back at your hometown, like, things are already moving forward for you, which makes me super excited because it's really my mission I really want to make 1 million Mommy Millionaires by 2020. And so we have a big task ahead of us. And I really believe that you need the skills in order to do that. You can have grit all day long, but you also need to know what you're doing. And so we're going to give you the basics pretty much.
I love this. And two of the people that you mentioned, one is Sarah Pendrick. She is freaking unbelievable. She has an ability to communicate her message like none other. She's just magic. I've had her on the show. She's a past podcast guest. And also you mentioned Susan Sly, which sort of is like this, amazing mix of, Sarah Blakely from Spanx and, Tony Robbins all rolled into one. I mean, she's kind of a force to be reckoned with. So, you're not messing around with the caliber of people that you're having at this event. So the reason why I wanted to have you on the podcast is not because I'm a Mommy Millionaire, but because I believe in the work that you're doing. And I really, really want to spread this message.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we gotta spread it out. We got to let people know about this. So let's move on and let's talk a little bit about the play part of your life. Most entrepreneurs are super driven and they just don't take the time to play. So let's talk a little bit about what it's like for you with a husband and 3 kids. What's a typical Saturday morning look like for you guys?
Mm-hmm. Well, I usually go to Soul Cycle early on Saturday mornings because I like to start my day off sweating. And then right now we're in full-blown ice hockey life. So my 8-year-old plays ice hockey, which is funny because we live in California, right? And I guess people in Minnesota don't call it ice hockey. They just call it hockey. So
right.
We have to, make that difference. So we do that. It's full blown. And he seriously wants to be in the NHL. And he really believes that he's going to be in the NHL. So he actually plays hockey 7 days a week right now. He's very, very committed when he's at hockey. He's doing that. But then when he gets home, he wants to practice more. And he's out, shooting shots or whatever you call it. So that's what we do. But to have fun, I mean, we love to just go down to the beach. We live literally right by the beach. And so we just go down there and we live right by some tide pools. And so the kids love to search for sea anemones. I just love simple life like that. I really do. Just enjoying them and watching their faces light up when they find a new animal or whatever they're doing. It's just fun living life through their eyes. And so that is really my definition of play right now is just trying to live through them and keep my phone away as much as possible.
I never heard that expression, tide pools. I think I understand what a tide pool is. It sounds like it's just kind of like a pool where the tide comes in and makes a pool, right?
Yeah. And so all the little sand crabs and lobsters you'll see in there and sea anemones and little tiny fish. And they're they could be really big or they could be small too. So it's really fun. We'll go out there usually every Saturday.
I love that. I'm a little jelly of that. I'm going to have to move to California. I freaking love that. If you could spend 1 month anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
Australia.
Australia, why?
Because I've been wanting to go there for a long time. And I think it'd be so fun to take the kids there and see the kangaroos and just see a different way of life. Even though there's so much cool stuff happening in Australia. The people there are just so different than Americans. They're just laid back and they seem happier. And every Australian I've met is super happy person. So I feel that's probably the drive to go there.
Back to energy, right?
Yeah.
If you could only eat at one restaurant before you die, where would your last meal be?
Well, it wouldn't be food. It would be ice cream at Dewar's in Bakersfield.
You're the first ice cream answer to that question.
Yes.
Is there a favorite one?
Yeah, it's Dewar's Candy Shop in Bakersfield. It's amazing.
Oh, you know exactly where to go. Okay.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that's rocking your world right now that has absolutely nothing to do with business?
Oh gosh, Rob. I don't know. My 4-year-old is amazing and he makes me happy. makes me laugh every single day. He's just hilarious. I would say my kids probably.
Love that. How much time do you take off to recharge and refocus?
I don't take time off. That's my problem in life.
Awesome. We have a mastermind for that. Other than time, what's the biggest block, challenge, or struggle with adding more play in your life right now?
Just the desire to want more play. Like I literally do not desire it in my life.
Interesting. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I really don't.
Head down? Head down, busy on projects?
Yeah. I'm just so focused. Like I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm missing out. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like, oh, there's something missing in my life.
By the way, these are very common for super successful entrepreneurs. This is always the most difficult part of the show, for sure. If you had all the time and money in the world to pursue a hobby or a recreational activity, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh. Okay. If I had I would totally become like a Pilates superstar.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm like so obsessed with Pilates, and there's like people that travel all over to like get, like, there's just so many things that you could do with it, but it could be like, yeah, you have to travel all over to like get with the best master trainers and stuff like that. And obviously I'm not going to do that right now. So
yeah, a lot of people talk about their morning routine, right? But I'm interested in sort of your evening wind down routine. What's that look like?
Okay, so this is what, like, when all things are good, this is what it looks like. So try to get the kids in bed by 7:30, and I try to just put my phone away then, to not be on my phone at all after that. And then I like to read a fiction book, because it helps me. Like, if I read a business book at night, then my wheels are just like turning. And so I like to do that. I take a bath, and then I like to write out a gratitude list. And then I always take like a cold shower after I take a bath, because it helps me sleep better. And then I take melatonin, and I have my little diffuser on that has lavender. And I make my room nice and cold, because I like to sleep when it's cold. And yeah, I mean, that's about it. I try to be in bed and asleep by usually like 9 o'clock. Like, I want to go to bed early because I get up at 5.
I just wrote down a couple of notes because I'm going to steal a few things. Have you heard of the chili pad? Do you know what that is?
Yes, and I want to get one.
It's amazing. We just got it. Kim and I are freaking loving it. Yeah, because you can control each side of, let's say you have a king bed, right? You could just control what temperature you want on each side. And, obviously mine is like, 2,000 below zero, and hers is just hot, because I just run.
Oh, she keeps hers hot, so she doesn't like hers cold.
Well, I call it hot. Somebody else probably wouldn't, but it's like mine's a freezer and hers is a refrigerator, let's say.
Okay, that's probably what I would like.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really amazing. When you find yourself uninspired, what sorts of things do you do to find your way back?
Oh, go to the ocean. I think just don't spend any time on online. And so I think, like, whenever I feel uninspired, it's always a correlation to how much I'm consuming from other people. And so it's just like going back into like creation mode and just like getting quiet with myself. And one of the things, like, this is so nice about where we live, is because there's literally no Wi-Fi down at that beach. And so there's no point of even bringing your phone unless you want to take a cool pic or whatever. But so you just go down there and get inspired and like have the waves crashing, and it's just so cool.
You know what I love about this? A lot of people talk about what they want to accomplish in life, and they talk about how they want to do it, but very few people give as much consideration to where they do it like you do. And it sounds like where you're living right now has been so strategically chosen for the energy that you want to have in your life. Yeah?
Oh, 100%. Like, I've spent probably the last 10 years knowing that I needed to move out of Bakersfield because the energy there just wasn't for me. So I've been dreaming for a long time, like knowing that, like, just getting into a space where, especially like living where everybody here loves living here. And so everybody's happy. And it's much different. Like in Bakersfield, people would be like, everybody hated living there, but everybody lived there because it's cheap to live there. And I'm like, I don't want to be around people like that. Like, I like to be around people that are happy. So a lot of people, they make this, freaking excuse all the time. Like, oh, well, I would have that if I didn't live here. And I'm like, well, why do you live there then? Like, just like how you and Kim, like, you guys are making a big decision to move, I don't know if you've announced that yet. Maybe Have you?
Yeah.
Okay.
We've totally said it publicly. We're August 15th. We're moving to the Manhattan Beach area, maybe Hermosa, maybe Redondo, but right in the South Bay area for those that know California for the reasons that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
We're
Exactly.
super excited. Yeah. All right. So let's wrap up with the rapid fire round. Answer as quickly or as slowly as you like. It's basically, tell me the first thing that pops into your mind. What would your friends say is one of your superpowers?
Connection.
What's one of the things you're afraid of right now?
More success.
Oh, you got to unpack that one. You got to unpack that one. Why are you?
This is rapid fire.
But I can't rapid fire that one because I have the same problem. But tell me why you feel that way.
Yeah, because I think for a long time, I had a coach several years ago. I don't know. I don't remember the exact words that he told me, but I remember getting off the phone with him and thinking, okay, if I want to be super successful, there's a possibility that my kids are going to turn out not good and that my marriage is going to fall apart. And so I've had that story in the back of my mind, which actually has caused me to really self-sabotage a lot of things in my life. Then I had another coach recently point it out to me and was like, oh my gosh, you've been self-sabotaging because of this. And so that's it. It's working on that story every single day that you can be extremely successful and have everything that you want and have amazing kids and have a good marriage. And it's telling myself that story every day instead of doing things to sabotage it.
That was so good. I had to do that. Sorry. We're going to go back to the first thing that pops in your mind. What keeps you up at night?
How to get more customers.
What do people never ask you, but you wish they did?
I wish people would ask me more about my faith.
What's the one thing you want to get better at?
Communication.
Which book have you reread the most?
Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker.
What's the one thing that you own and probably should throw out, but you never will?
My cell phone.
Last question. Well, actually, there's two more. If you had to give a TED Talk on nothing that you're known for, nothing that you speak about, and it really could be on anything that you like or have a passion for, or anything else at all, what would that be?
Oh, why people should go on mission trips.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, last question, and it's a little bit of a fun one. Let's change it up a little bit. What one question do you want to ask me?
Ooh, okay. Why do you think you and Kim have such a good relationship?
Because we almost killed each other until we figured out how we both tick. But if I had to sort of give you the training that was behind it, about 10 years ago, we went to a Tony Robbins. He only did it one time. It was a relationship course. It was specific to relationships. It was done on Valentine's Day. And it was him and his wife, Sage, kind of around the time that they got married. And a lady named Chloe Madonis. And we went through, God, it must have been 7 to 10 days of just exercise after exercise, honesty after honesty. And we use those skills to this day. As an example, when something comes up, we look at, we rate it on a 0 to 10 scale. So sometimes I'll say, hey, I want to do this. And she'll say, I want to do that. And then we'll say, okay, well, where are you scale of 0 to 10? Where 10 is this is absolutely has to happen for you. If she's honest, she'll say, it's about a 7. And I'll say, well, it's a freaking 10 for me. And she'll go, okay, you win. And so our rule is that whoever's being honest and knows that that number is higher, then we just acquiesce and we call it, I'll go your way. And so we have a lot of little tricks like that we learned from the event that we just made a part of our life. And it just allows us to, function well with each other. And the other thing is we live by a code, and the code is that whatever lights you up, lights me up. So everything that I do is to support whatever it is that she wants. Right now, network marketing is very, very important to her. So my role is to make sure that she has any support at all, because that's what's lighting her up. For me, she knows that my mastermind is the passion project that I'm working on now. So whatever she can do to support me in that. So whatever lights me up, as opposed to, you take care of your thing, I'll take care of my thing. It's more like my needs are her needs. Her needs are my needs, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you guys need to do that course.
Yes, we'll teach it. One thing at a time though, right?
Okay, all right. 2020.
Do you have any final words, suggestions, or an ask for the people that are listening?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I guess I would say if you live in Southern California or if you're in California, you should come to Mommy Millionaire Live. And I'm saying just California because it's 2 weeks away, so you should totally come to Mommy Millionaire Live and get fueled up by all of us. And for those of you guys that are, on here because you're working hard and you want to play hard, I would say just, make sure to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that are going to help lift you up, because your environment is everything. If you can't change where you live right now, you can change who you're letting give you advice right now. That's the number one thing that you can change leaving this little podcast episode, is make sure to be very careful on who you let in. And that's why I love that Rob's doing a mastermind, because it gives every single one of you guys an opportunity to surround yourself with people that are playing life at a really large scale that will inspire you to go big or go home, basically. So so I would say apply for Rob's mastermind too.
I love that. Thank you for that. I will make sure we link everything up in the show notes so people know how to get there. Well, Cayla, thank you so much for, just as always, being freaking incredible and honest and really having such a servant's heart to help people. I'm really super appreciative that you had the time to do this.
Yay. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Thanks for listening. If you love this episode and you know someone that needs some help in either stepping up their work hard game or their play hard game, it would mean the world to me if you shared this podcast with them to help me get this movement out there. So if you like what you heard, head on over to iTunes, take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review, and I will be forever grateful. So until the next episode, excuses are over. It's time to live.